My name's Kate Ron. At 29, I came upstairs to find Mom already setting the table. Toast, eggs over easy, a dash of hot sauce on the side. Exactly the way she used to make it when I was in high school before early welding practice. For a second, I almost let myself believe it was a gesture that meant something. I'll only be gone 2 days, I told her, sliding into the chair opposite. A maintenance job at the mill in Brookings. The new job starts Monday. She gave a small nod, stirring her coffee slowly. That's nice, honey. The words landed more like a reflex than a real response. Her gaze never lifted from the phone beside her, not even when I smiled. I know it's not a big firm like Mara was, I tried again, but steady pay, benefits. I'll finally be able to clear the rest of what I owe you. Still nothing but a distracted hum, her fingers tapping at the screen before she angled it away. I cut into my eggs, reminding myself not to overthink it. She had let me stay. She didn't have to. When I rinsed my plate, she finally glanced up. Drive safe. I will. She pressed a quick kiss to my cheek, pulling me into a side hug that felt more rehearsed than real, then returned to her phone. The morning light stretched long shadows across the driveway as I carried my duffel to the car. The welding gear inside clattered as I placed it in the trunk, like the sound of a new beginning. Pulling away, I glanced back once. The curtains shifted just slightly. Enough. By 6:32, I was already back in our neighborhood, hours ahead of schedule. The job had wrapped early, and all I wanted was my own bed. My hands still smelled of hot steel and burnt rubber, grounding me. Then I saw them. Black garbage bags lined across the front lawn, some ripped open socks, notebooks, sweaters scattered in the grass. My welding gloves in the dirt. My duffel sat upright, crooked, as though thrown and left where it landed. Against the mailbox, my gaming monitor leaned bare and exposed. If you've ever been betrayed by the people who should have stood by you, you'll understand. Mom stood there with her phone held out like she was recording a tutorial. Beside her, Nall stretched her arms selfie-style, narrating the scene for her followers. I could hear her voice before I even stepped out of the car. And here she is, back from another business trip, still owing $8,000 in rent. Folks, this is what entitlement looks like. Griffin paced nearby like a restless guard dog. When he spotted me, he smirked, walked to one of the bags, and kicked it, hard enough to send a book flying into the dirt. Finally, he muttered, "The family freeloader's out for good." I tried to speak, but my chest locked up. Mom raised her phone higher, her voice polished for the camera. Kate Ron, 29 years old, squatting in my basement like a parasite. Not anymore. This is your eviction notice, public and permanent. Neighbors lingered at the edges, Mrs. Valen gripping her dog's leash tight, Mr. Linton half hidden behind a bush, phone up and filming. No one moved. No one intervened. I crouched, picked up the bent hardcover from the dirt, smoothed its edges, and set it aside. Then the next item. And the next. No yelling. No tears. Just loading the car piece by piece while Nall's voice carried on like background static. When I closed the trunk, I turned back once. They were still filming. Still smiling. Enjoy the show, I said softly. You'll hear from me soon. That's when the porch door banged open. Dad stormed down, face red, jaw clenched. Without a word, he hurled a set of keys. They hit my cheek with a dull thud before falling into the gravel. Take your junk and leave, he barked. You're no daughter of mine. Real adults don't mooch at your age. I rubbed the sore spot, bent down, and picked up the keys without flinching. He waited, arms folded, ready for me to crack. Nall adjusted her camera for the best shot. Griffin paced like he'd already won. Instead, I slid quietly into the driver's seat, shut the door, and met their stares through the window. Mom with her feigned detachment, Nall with her manufactured disgust, Griffin's smug cruelty. Then Dad, his glare steady, but with the faintest flicker of doubt when I didn't break either. I turned the key, pulled away slowly, and never looked back. The streets blurred as I drove aimlessly until I ended up in the grocery store parking lot, engine idling, hands gripping the wheel. Hours later, I finally stopped at Elena's apartment. Her porch light still glowed. That's when I remembered the envelope. It had sat untouched for over a year in my filing bin, thick paper, no return address, my name in my grandfather's unmistakable script. He'd pressed it into my hand at the hospital weeks before he died. "Don't open it unless things get bad," he'd said. I never thought I'd need to. But tonight, everything told me, open it. I dropped my bag inside, pulled the envelope free, and set it across my knees. Lena wordlessly brought tea, left it on the table, and slipped away. She knew I'd speak when I was ready. I stared at the flap until my hands moved. It opened clean, like it had been waiting. Inside, a folded letter, notarized documents, and a business card from a downtown law office. The letter read, in his sharp handwriting. "Kate, if you're reading this, then they've done what I always feared. I couldn't shield you while I lived, so I've done what I can after. Part of the house, the lake cabin, and the shop are now in your name. All legal, all documented. You owe them nothing, not silence, not apologies, not guilt. This is for the day they forget your worth. Grandpa." The room blurred. My hands trembled, not with grief, but with clarity. The documents confirmed it all, a living trust. My name tied to percentages, 40% of the home, half the cabin, 35% of the Riverdale Street commercial property. The card read, Arthur Dorsy, Estate and Property Law. By morning, I called. The receptionist hesitated until I gave my grandfather's name, then found me an immediate slot. The office smelled of polished wood and quiet authority. Dorsy remembered me instantly. "You always brought that red sketchbook," he said. He examined every page with practiced precision. When he finally looked up, his tone was steady. "It's valid. Ironclad. They can't sell, can't erase you, can't pretend ignorance. And if they've been pocketing rent or loans against it, they may be in far deeper than they realize." My chest thudded with adrenaline. "I'm ready to proceed." He leaned forward. "Then let's begin." That night, at 8:47, a text buzzed. "Hey, hope you're not mad. The stream wasn't meant to embarrass you. It was just content. You know how the algorithm is." I didn't respond. By morning, 12 more messages. 2 missed calls from Mom. A voicemail from Griffin, "You're overreacting." It wasn't serious. You know how she gets. Just come talk like an adult. I forwarded everything to Dorsey. By early afternoon, Dad texted. "We need you to sign a few things. No drama. Just paperwork. No apology. No explanation. Just orders." Dorsey sent back a formal notice. All communication must go through his office. He CC'd their lawyer. I silenced my phone. Let the quiet work. That evening, I organized what little I'd salvaged. Lena had cleared me a shelf. I stacked my remaining books, folded my clothes, placed the dented monitor carefully by the desk. It wasn't much. But it was mine. That night, I picked up a pen. It had been years since I last touched a journal, but something in me wanted to start again. On the first blank page, I wrote just one line. They finally heard me when I stopped explaining. After that, the words didn't feel heavy anymore. Not anger, not revenge, just reflections. What I'd seen in their eyes. What I didn't find in their hearts. The false sense of safety I once mistook for love. And the truths I could never unsee now. By the time I closed it, my phone was still buzzing every few minutes. Noelle's rambling voice notes, Griffin's guilt-laced messages, Dad's sharp demands. I flipped the phone face down and let it hum against the mattress. They had always been loud. But this time, my silence carried more weight than their shouting ever could. 2 days later, Mr. Dorsey called. His voice was calm but firm. "We've reviewed the income streams from the properties," he said. "Your parents and brother have been collecting rent on the lake cabin and the commercial building, without reporting it to you." My eyes shut slowly. "How much?" "Just over $50,000. 3 years of payments. Your portion wasn't even recognized," he continued. Recognized, as if it was a clerical slip. We both knew it was intentional. By that evening, certified letters were already on their way to the family's attorney, listing the exact amounts owed and my ownership stakes. Mr. Dorsey also reached out to the banks tied to the property loans. If they'd approved financing without my consent, they'd be in trouble too. The silence that followed this time wasn't stunned or hurt. It was calculating. 3 days later, Griffin appeared at my workplace. It was a quiet Tuesday, and I had just clocked out for lunch when I spotted him leaning against my car, arms crossed. I didn't slow down. "Kate," he called, trying to sound casual, "got a second?" My grip tightened around my keys. He stepped into my way. "We need to talk." I met his eyes. "You're trespassing. Move." He leaned closer, his tone low and tense. "You're tearing the family apart over a technicality. That money wasn't yours. You want to play lawyer? Fine. But you won't like how this ends." I didn't blink. "Step away from my car." 2 coworkers appeared by the exit, one calling out my name. Griffin turned his head, muttered something, then stepped back. I pulled out my phone. "I'll only say this once, this is harassment. Leave." By the time security arrived, he was gone. Back inside, I filed an incident report and forwarded the parking lot footage to Mr. Dorsey. He replied within the hour, noted and logged. Proceeding as planned. They had moved first. Now they would learn what it meant to be on defense. That Thursday evening, I heard the knock. Sharp. Impatient. Then voices. Too many. I checked the security feed, exactly who I expected. Mom clutching a tissue. Dad's jaw tight, arms folded. Griffin leaning against the wall, Noelle half distracted with her phone. "Kate," Mom's voice cracked, "please, honey, we just want to talk. This has gone too far." Dad stepped closer. "Open the door. Stop acting like a child." I stayed quiet long enough for the silence to sting. Then spoke clearly, "All communication goes through Mr. Dorsey. You've been told." They froze, as if they hadn't expected me to answer. Mom tried again, voice thinner this time. "You don't have to do this. We can handle it ourselves, just us. We'll delete the videos. We'll fix everything." From the feed, I saw Noelle subtly hide her phone behind her back. She wasn't here for peace, she was recording. "I'm not discussing anything without legal counsel," I said. "If you stay, I'll call security." Dad's face hardened. "So you're hiding behind lawyers now? Thought you weren't my daughter?" His words hung heavy. Griffin avoided my eyes. Noelle typed something quickly. Mom dabbed at her cheeks, empty of words. After another minute, they walked away. That night, I opened my laptop to find Mr. Dorsey's new file, Settlement Negotiation, Initial Draft. 2 days later, their lawyer sent an offer. Full ownership of the lake cabin if I dropped claims on back rent and future income. Mr. Dorsey responded instantly, "Rejected. Our original terms stand." The cabin wasn't worth a third of what I was owed. They thought I'd trade justice for a symbolic gesture. They were wrong. I told Mr. Dorsey exactly what mattered: a structured repayment plan for the rent, a neutral property manager for future income, and a signed admission of financial misrepresentation. "Put it in writing," I said. Signed by all of them. As negotiations dragged, their cracks began to show. Noelle lost thousands of followers after someone exposed her lies. Sponsors backed out. She deleted the eviction video, but the internet doesn't forget. Dad's business stumbled, one client pulled out, then a loan flagged under review. Mom stopped texting. Griffin sent one furious email that Dorsy forwarded to me without comment. Noelle tried calling twice. I ignored it. Finally, their lawyer caved. They agreed to every condition, monthly payments, third-party oversight, and a signed statement acknowledging the deception. I read it twice, then added one sentence of my own before signing. Truth isn't betrayal, it's what remains when the performance ends. Soon after moving into my own place, a small one-bedroom with drafty windows but a lease in my name, the first envelope arrived. Inside was a check, the first installment of what they owed. Clipped to it, a note in Mom's handwriting. We hope we can put this behind us and be a family again. Love, Mom. I stared at it for a while. Not because it softened me, but because of how little it did. No apology. No accountability. Just a wish that I'd forget the cost of my freedom. I placed the check in my drawer. No reply. That night, unpacking the last box, I found my old external drive. On it, a file named Grandpa Wave. I clicked play. His voice filled the room. Hey kiddo, if you're hearing this, I guess I'm gone. But listen, you'll be okay, even if they never say sorry. Some people only value you when they can use you. The moment you stop letting them, they'll call it betrayal. Let them. You just keep being you. I sat there quietly, letting his words warm the small apartment. No shouting. No manipulative silence. Just his steady reassurance echoing in a space that finally belonged to me.